Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We're going through the book of Proverbs. We're in chapter 10, verses 1 through 12. Now, one of the things is the first 9 chapters of Proverbs, and there's later sections in the chapters 32 to 33, a little bit more organized around a common theme. Starting in chapter 10, the verses seem a bit more random. But there are recurring ideas happening through this, and that it's throughout the book of Proverbs in this section. It's almost like there's just one nugget of wisdom, one nugget of blessing after another, and it's sort of like a candy dish. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So we start off, a wise wise child brings joy to his father, a foolish child brings grief to their mother. And there's sort of like, that makes a lot of sense. But the bigger issue here is that the mother and father are responsible for passing on the wisdom that they learned from their previous generations and from their own heartbreak, right? I mean, wisdom is learning from the mistakes of other people before you. And so it's really heartbreaking when someone won't listen to your wisdom and they go off and chase dragons on their own. Maybe you have a child like that. Anyways, it goes on to talk about this juxtaposition in each one of these verses, sort of between wisdom and righteousness and foolishness and wickedness. And to be wise is not to be wise in the ways of the world, as we keep talking about. It's the wisdom of God and to walk in God's ways. And when we read the word about the righteous or righteousness, another word perhaps might be godliness. This is all about relying upon the Lord, about living by God's grace. And so the righteous are delivered from death. Well, they don't do that on their own. They're delivered by God. They don't go hungry. Why? Because, again, God provides. Righteousness crowns their head. In other words, it gives them wisdom, blesses their insight. The name of those who are righteous is a blessing to others because they can be counted on. The righteous, as it speaks about, righteousness is a fountain of life because it's a source of blessing that comes from God. That the righteous walk with integrity because they're walking in God's ways, they're walking in God's wisdom. And again, this righteousness is all about, is the wisdom that comes from God, of living faithfully and trusting God. Whereas foolishness and wickedness, as you go through here, it speaks about how they're not careful, they're not prudent. There's violence that comes out of their mouths. The name of the wicked, rather than give blessing, is something that's rotten, as it says in verse 7. The unwise, the foolish person, they don't listen to others, and so they end up in ruin. The foolish take crooked paths, and they find out what that is going to mean. And so, again, this comparison back and forth. One of the verses in here it says that love covers all wrongs. And I want to remind you that's found in 1 Peter chapter 4. Peter quotes it, but then he adds on to it because he says, maintain a constant love for one another. And so love isn't just a one-off, it is a constant process. And I think that's one of the things that the whole book of Proverbs is about, is that living wisely is a day-to-day constant process. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.